Good evening all, and welcome to the May Volunteer Forum here at the Coldstream Fire Brigade. Tonight's focus will be on training and also on National Volunteer Week. My name is ACFO David Maxwell, and I work at CFA headquarters in the training department. And I'm here joined by Captain of the Coldstream Fire Brigade, Sean Bethell. Sean, thank you for having us here tonight.
Thank you and welcome along.
Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about the brigade?
Yep, so Coldstream Fire Brigade's been here since 1962. This station here that we've got at the moment was, we moved in here in February last year, so about 18 months, and the brigade has a Type 3 medium pumper and 2 tankers.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's not very warm out here, so let's head inside and have a look at the new station.
Certainly can. Yep, so Coldstream Fire Brigade has about 35 members. We have about a core of 15 which turn out to most calls all the time. And we also have about 5 to 6 non-operational members, from secretary to fundraising, those sort of things.
Excellent. And we're now in the meeting room, and I see there's a cabinet over here detailing some of the history of the brigade, particularly some of the old helmets and branches and the like. If you can step through there, just if you can show us some of the history of the brigade that we have here tonight.
Certainly can. So the brigade, it was formed by Lilydale Rural Fire Brigade, and that was back in 1945 that we were around, and some of the old ex-army radios were donated or purchased by the brigades back in those days. And as we have one here down the bottom, there's an ex-army, and it was put onto our first captain's tractor, and it was used in operational roles on the tractor, showing fires that we'd gone to. It's
fantastic, and I know we're having a look at the tractor today with John Lithgow using that very radio on the tractor. It's great to see some of the history of this brigade, but particularly CFA and how we used to operate. And part of that history here also is what I have in my hand, 50 years service, the history of the Coldstream Fire Brigade. I believe this book was written by your father, ex-captain of the brigade?
Certainly was. So Robert Bethell wrote the history of the brigade 10 years ago. For the 50 years, he also wrote the history of Lilydale Fire Brigade as well, for their period, of which I think was about 100 years of service. So in here we've got things from how many calls we did each year for the 50 years, and brigade officers, things that we've done each 2 years. Each time we have a set of elections, there's a bit of history in there as well. So. Yeah.
It's great to see, and it's also fantastic to see that your father being a previous captain of the brigade and you coming up and being the captain yourself. So it's a fantastic piece of CFA history, not only Coldstream Fire Brigade history. I think tonight we will now go and see what's on for the rest of the forum.
And good evening everybody, and welcome to Coldstream here in beautiful District 13 at the Yarra Valley. A very chilly night, but a lot of warm topics to talk about throughout. So a warm welcome to everybody joining us tonight from wherever you're dialing into. Please put that in. Let us know where you're dialing in from tonight, even if it is in Bali. And welcome to you, Chief, from that part of the world. Garry Cook with you tonight as the Acting Chief Officer, while the Chief has been taking a well-earned break. And we wish everybody joining tonight a warm welcome. We're on Wurundjeri country, and I would welcome the traditional owners of the lands in which we meet here tonight, and pay our respects to any elders that might be joining us as well for tonight's forum from any of our Aboriginal communities right across Victoria. A lot to get through tonight. Joining me on the panel, we've got a number of people joining tonight, and we'll have some more join us as we go through. So I've got to my right, DCO Rohan Luke. Welcome, Rohan, this evening.
Evening, Gary. Great to be back. Thank you.
And joining Rohan, I've got Beth Robinson. Welcome, Beth. Beth's a program designer in the operational training and Doctrine team. So welcome to you, Beth.
Thank you, Gary.
On my left, I've got Nicole Levi. Nicole is the manager of training, design and development. Nicole, welcome.
Thanks,
to
Gary.
you. And of course, Sean Bethell. Welcome, Sean. Thank you so much for allowing us to invade your station this evening for the forum, and the walk around with Dave was really appreciated. I'm sure a lot of people
Gary.
looking at the facility. So welcome to you. Importantly to everybody online, there is a poll running tonight. If you look at the chat, you'll see that there. There are a number of topics listed. We're just really looking to gauge interest in those particular subjects, but we'll be covering a lot of other issues tonight that aren't on that poll. So please don't just think that those 4 items are the key items. Obviously, we're keen to understand what are those that are important to you, but also certainly we would like to broaden our horizons tonight. And if there's any questions you've got, please put them in the chat as we go through tonight. Our teams, as always for the volunteer forums, are waiting to answer those questions if they can this evening. If they don't, we will get back to you at some stage. So that's, Sean, I want to just, welcome firstly. Thanks so much for joining us on the panel, and heard a little bit about the history out there. I was just intrigued by the radio on the tractor, this is really about CFA's history. A lot of people would look at that today and perhaps even chuckle at it, but our forefathers who actually set the foundations for the organisation we are today were inventive in the way they went around that. But tell us a little bit more about your brigade.
So Coldstream Brigade was formed in 1962. Back in the day, before then it was Lilydale and Yarra Glen Bushfire Brigade, and before that Lilydale Bushfire Brigade. So we consider ourselves quite steeper than just 60 years of history. But over the 60 years we've moved into this great space, which CFA has given us, but there was a lot of hard yards with the old station to bring it up to what it was needed compared to what it was when it was first built in 1962. Yeah,
and look, a great facility, testimony to everybody involved and, getting these facilities. And I know a lot of people look at these with envy, and naturally enough, we'd love to have great stations like this, and, we're obviously, our teams are working where they can to get that done. But there's a little bit of history as well.
There is.
A station that sort of found itself as a bit of a pile of rubble?
It did. So in 2000, or back in 1996, the Brigade built its own Mazda T4600 pumper, and we went out to a call out in Hillsville, and on return we put the vehicle away. We used the heater that night, being the middle of winter, and I got a phone call from the newsagents over the road to say that the fire station's on fire. I've called the fire brigade, but you won't get to yours pretty much. I raced down here and down to the old station, and there wasn't much we could do. I had a garden hose being poured into the front window of the station, but yeah, the pumper and the 2 tankers were badly affected with fire, and there's
bit of a unique situation when call the fire brigade, but the fire brigade can't respond.
We couldn't get in there. We had automatic doors, so we couldn't open the doors. The fire was the closest door that was accessible, so we couldn't even get access inside the station to get fire hose or a hydrant key.
Yeah, I can imagine a really heavy impact for the members, and
it was
also
a lot of tears, because there was a lot of hours the brigade members had put into not only the truck, the station as well. So it was a sad day.
Yeah, and sometimes memorabilia and other things like that go as well.
Yes.
So, yeah, so fast forward, want to talk about the 1920 bushfires, and in particular
the 2020 fires.
Yep.
So 2020 fires, we had a local resident contact us about, can we use the station as a collection point to fill up about a horse float full of donations to send off to the fire affected areas. And we said yes, not a problem, and we ended up with Maroondah Highway streaming back a long way. We then had Lilydale offer help, and Greer, so we stored a lot of stuff up at Greer and a lot of cars up towards Greer. I think it was 2 days after that we ended up with Belgrave contacting us if they could start a collection on the back of ours, and we had Belgrave Ferntree Gully and Upper Ferntree Gully collecting, and that all went to Kevin Cameron's, which is the brother of the Cameron's group, donated factory, and we had everything trucked down to Cameron's Transport down there. We had 750 pallets which were destined for sale. That fell through because the RAF base wouldn't accept mixed loads because they couldn't itemise what was on there. So we had to find another avenue for it to go, and it ended up going out to Wodonga, and it was transported by many transport companies. It wasn't just one. We had B-doubles, semis, dog and tippers and that sort of thing, taking goods up there. That was all put into an old Safeways Woolworths store that had been stripped down and all it had left was shelving. So they put all that gear onto the shelves, and they had pickers which would take it out to the fire affected areas in New South Wales and Victoria in the high country. And yeah, that was it.
A true community spirit, and,
It was.
and again, one of those wonderful things about the broader CFA organisation and people connecting to help people and facilitating
Yes.
that process. Just a wonderful thing, and we saw some shots there on the screen before of some of those photos that are here in the fire station capturing that moment. And for those who were questioning whether I was thinking about 1920 as in the year 1920, I was meaning 2019-20 and just the abbreviated moment.
That's all right.
I wasn't going back a century, but thanks for testing me just on that one as well. So thanks so much, Sean. And for those that, because I did ask Sean, and the Bethell name, obviously synonymous, just not here,
Yes.
but obviously up in the northeast
North,
as well.
yeah.
The Bethell family is, a lot of connections through CFA, and to any of the Bethells watching this evening, we say welcome to you as well.
Thank you.
So thanks for that, Sean. Now, Ro, I'm going to come to you. We want to, obviously, tonight's focus is heavily weighted towards our training program, and particularly, where we're going with training and a lot of the activity going on there. Want to just give us a few insights in terms of where we're at?
No worries, thanks Garry. So there is a lot happening in training, and people who join in regularly will probably pick that up from the regular updates that we do on a monthly basis. But there's probably a couple of key drivers for training in the direction we're heading at the moment. The first one's the AFAC peer review, which we've talked about a lot. 14 recommendations which look to make significant improvements in the way CFA delivers training, particularly in support of our members. And then the other part, which we'll talk about in a little bit more detail, is the training enhancement program, which is supported by the board as one of their priorities, but it's a body of work linked to the operating model that will see significant change within training itself, within how we deliver training, how we develop training, how we support our members, and 23 deliverables in there that really hit to the heart of the changes that we need to make. I think there's three principles that we are working to. The first one is that the RTO requirements are critical, RTO governance and compliance. We do need to maintain our RTO. It's really important for us as an organisation, and probably one of the largest training organisations in Victoria. It's important that we have an RTO. The second one is that our training equits the operational requirements of our members. So it's good quality training, that it meets the needs. But the third element that we're really focusing on with our training, that it enhances the volunteers' training experience. So we want people to come and participate in training, take away some great learnings, but also enjoy the time that they're there. So we've got a really strong focus now in our training enhancement program, in the AFAC recommendations and how they're being delivered, to ensure that we're focusing on a participant's journey in some of the solutions that we're trying to work through to make those improvements. So there's a lot happening.
There is a lot happening, and I think in particular, I think over the last 12 months, and if we think where we were 12 months ago and what's been compressed into that, there's been a lot of really good work done, but we understand there's a lot more to do. One of our real foundations is the General Firefighter program, and spoken to some people today actually that have just recently completed that and their experience of going through that. But perhaps to both yourself, Ro, and also to Beth, you want to take us through a little bit about how we're at in terms of what the changes are that have been made. We've been listening to our people, and what's next.
Yeah, perfect. So based on all the consultation we did over the last year, we've really changed a lot to do with GFF, more in the flexibility of how we deliver the GFF. So even though the content and assessment might be the same for some brigades, the way it's delivered may be different. And what we're really trying to encourage at the moment is the brigade training officers to communicate what their needs are for their brigades so that these GFF courses can be scheduled to better suit the needs. An example of that might be a 3-day GFF might suit some districts or some groups, and a longer GFF might suit others. The other things that we've done is we've broken up the knowledge assessment. So for all the instructors out there, gone are the days of sitting there for hours ticking away that knowledge assessment at the end. What we've actually done is we've broken them down into 7 different assessments, and they're all multiple choice, so they're self-marking, which makes it really great for the instructors to get through. The other things that we are changing with GFF is the foundation skills drills will now actually be taught firsthand by the instructors, and then the candidates need to go back to their brigade and practice those foundation skills drills. And the brigade action checklist that used to be part of GFF, there was a little bit of an administration nightmare having that as a piece of evidence for the assessment. So we still have that brigade action checklist. We're now referring to as the skills action checklist, but that is not a piece of evidence for the assessment anymore. It's more of a guideline for the candidate to go back with the brigade and just to check that they are ready to go for assessment and that they can do all of those skills. And the last thing that we've changed with GFF is we're now including the unit prepare, maintain and test. It's a prerequisite down the track for a lot of units, and we're already ticking a lot of those boxes already, so we've included that in the new GFF program.
That sounds great, Beth. So I guess, I'm listening to a lot of those. They're all improvements.
Yeah.
How have we arrived at those improvements, perhaps just in terms of process?
Yeah, so we, the first thing was the review that we did. So Beth and the team, Molly, one of our other program designers, and a number of other people went out in the field, particularly focusing on Class 1 and Class 2 brigades, as well as the normal process of receiving feedback on courses. So significant miles to get out and work with brigades. And one of the issues, or one of the things that we picked up working with District 16, in particular some Class 1 and Class 2 brigades, was this concept of a 3-day GFF. So the theory, or the practice, I suppose, of being able to do the GFF over a short period of time, really short, succinct, as in bringing people together, saturating the training opportunity, and then going back to your brigade, rather than trying to do it night after night after night after night, which is how some of the other brigades and districts run it. Even the feedback from that, I think the key point is regardless of how you deliver the GFF or how you receive it, it's the same standard. So the assessment's the same, the content's the same. What we've done is broken it up, because the feedback we heard was the quality of the course was great, but it wasn't necessarily delivered in a way that brigades could readily accept it, as in readily participate in it. Either people would miss nights and not be able to catch up. People would have a preference to do digital, and that wasn't necessarily available. So now what we've done, and what we're doing in a lot of our training, is listening to the feedback, and we're not trying to come up with one solution on how to fix a course or how to make a course available. We're looking at multiple options. Because that's what, depending on the brigade, the type of brigade, the classification and their background, that's what we're hearing, is they want to look at different ways of doing it, which is then, I guess, is really then relying on the brigade and group training coordinators to work with the districts to say, here are the models that work for us. The other thing that we heard in the process, the review, was whilst the quality of the training is really good, we had a bit of a feeling that where brigades were managing GFF or groups managing GFF at a local level, it seemed to be rolled out more flexibly. So it was more adaptable. Nights could be shifted slightly to meet the crew that were doing it. That's probably was the real catalyst that got us onto thinking about, well, there's got to be multiple options to deliver, and that's essentially where we've landed now.
Yeah, that's terrific. And I guess we often talk about the volunteer experience and how important that is. So, and listening and tailoring and learning as we go. Sean, I want to come to you because I understand you've got some new members coming on board and where they're at in terms of their progression towards GFF and how some of this might actually, assist that journey for them as well.
So Coldstream Brigade, over the road, we've got 66 houses being built, and we've got potentially for 4, and we're hoping for way more than that. And it's really important to get new members through GFF and all the way through to interim instruction within a good time, instead of waiting 5 years to get them through to there. So it's really important that we have leaders within the brigade to allow those new members to be able to step through this process and get through there quickly and with the outcomes that they need.
Yeah, and I mean, it's great. 4 new members, new subdivision going in next door, and that's wonderful, and potentially more. As part of that recruitment process, you know, they'll be asking, I guess, about the training and things like that, and have you been able to sort of give them that flexible, or I guess the opportunity or consideration that there might be flexible ways to deliver that?
Yeah, so with the GFF, how it was, there's the online learning which was done at their pace, which is good. They can go away with that information, learn what they want to on the nights that they can, rather than being set down to every Tuesday night or every Wednesday night. Some people can't do that. It's nice to be able to go away and do that in their time frame that they need to, so that's really good. The practical side of it, to do that type of thing, is a little bit harder. You need them actually here, so we usually do that on the Sunday mornings when we're doing repairs and maintenance anyway on the stations. So yeah, it's good.
Good job. Now, Nicole, you've been sitting here very patiently. We've been talking all around you, but it's time for us to have a bit of a chat. Sure. So the IMT Training Pathways, what can you tell us about where we're at and where are we looking to go forward with IMT Training Pathways?
Yeah, sure. So the training pathway as a whole is up on Members Online for people to have a look at and provide feedback on, and that feedback opportunity closes on Friday. IMT specifically at the moment, we get delivered by EMV, and we've streamlined the nomination process in LMS so that it's less onerous and people can move through that and nominate for courses more easily. And at the same time, at the moment, we're developing all of the IMT training materials up to and including level 2. And we're working through the development of those now with an aim to be releasing them in a sort of staggered approach across the second half of this year. And we've got all of the IMT prerequisite courses, so things like supervised machinery for wildfire operations, intermediate bushfire behaviour, strike team leader, crew leader. All of those programs are nearing the completion of their development, and we've got handovers with instructors scheduled for those across June and July. So we're putting ourselves in a really good position.
Terrific. And while we're talking, the new digital assessment process, would you like to take us through that a little bit?
Yes, sure. So as part of this approach to providing some flexibility for delivery and enhancing the volunteer experience, we've introduced all of the training materials moving forwards will be stored in the LMS so that members can access them there digitally while they're doing their training, and we've also included digital assessments. This does a number of things. It allows members to get more immediate feedback on their assessment, so particularly where we use multiple choice, which is not in everything, but it means that they can get an instant response that says, you know, I got question 4 wrong, and that gives them an opportunity to ask their instructor very quickly or to go back and review their materials, and that's really helpful with their learning. But the other thing that happens with digital assessment is that it relieves the administrative burden for our instructors, for our regional delivery teams, and it also assists with that flexible scheduling. So if someone is doing the module digitally at home, they can also then access the assessment right there and complete that at the time. Helps them move through more easily. That's the aim.
Excellent. So a lot happening, I think, is where we're at in all of that space. So thanks, crew. I think we're going to go to a video, Brad.
I think pathways. Yeah, so probably just on the back of Nicole's discussion around the IMT pathways, there's also work being done on the development of all of our training pathways. So training pathways, we're focusing on the operational roles, non-operational roles, so operational support roles, community engagement roles and IMT roles, and then the specialist roles. So Nick might talk us through a little bit in a minute some of the process around that and how we've got to there. But the training pathways for us is a bit of work that will ensure that people understand what the journey is or how to get to the various stages in their training development. So it'll develop or produce a roadmap where people can say, I want to get to be a structural firefighter, what do I need to do? And they'll be able to plot their path through there. The important part of that is that the pathways, when we follow that, we'll be able to then adopt appropriate timing. So instead of having courses that have multiple elements that you then go and redo that same element as you advance, if we follow the training pathway, when you've learnt it once and been assessed on it once, that'll be able to be carried forward and you won't have to be reassessed any huge detail on that. So the pathways will actually set us up that everyone understands where they need to go and how they need to get there, which is a good bit of work that we're finalising the consultation on at the moment. We commenced discussions on this probably 12 months ago. It's part of the AFAC recommendations that we're working on, but it's also been out through our joint training committee. So we've had a lot of discussion through that committee, and also now being through, we launched it, online with the state championships, and we'll now close that report off or that review off shortly, and then see where we go from there.
That's really good. Thanks, Ro. And now we might go to the video. Thanks, Brad.
I'm currently in my 6th year of study. I'm studying at the moment to become a doctor. Lived in country Victoria all my life, moving around small country towns. And I suppose for the last 5 years I've really enjoyed being part of lots of different CFA brigades. So I joined CFA straight out of Year 12. There were a lot of fires sort of happening around Wesburn Ranges where I was growing up, and it was this really great win-win where I was also just starting my journey to becoming a doctor, and so I realised I was able to bring those skills to CFA. But it was really exciting to learn that I could also take a lot of these CFA skills into my job as well. So volunteering with CFA, for me the big takeaway was sort of learning how to cope in a really stressful, high-pressure environment. When you've got colleagues, teammates, good mates around you who, I suppose, you're all working towards a common goal, but in a really unique situation. And I think sort of my day-to-day role in medicine is really similar in that there's difficult challenges, often hostile environments where things aren't always ideal, and a team that you really need to pull together. So I think CFA's taught me the importance of teamwork, given me the ability to cope in difficult situations. And I suppose the enjoyment and community and sense of belonging that allows me to sort of join a brigade every time I move to a new small town. Growing up in small country towns, I learned pretty quickly that everybody's got a role to play, no matter what town you're in, no matter how big the town, and no matter what your upbringing. CFA is such a great way for people to bring, no matter what life experience, no matter what occupation they do, no matter what skills they've got, into a common goal that's going to benefit the community no matter what, in a place.
And we're back. Okay, thank you. Good on you, Tom, and great to see the work you're doing there up at Wangaratta. So.
Go to the video again, so I can have some audio issues there.
Okay, so we'll go to the video.
I'm currently in my 6th year of study. I'm studying at the moment to become a doctor. Lived in country Victoria all my life, moving around small country towns. And I suppose for the last 5 years, I've really enjoyed being part of lots of different CFA brigades. So I joined CFA straight out of Year 12. There were a lot of fires sort of happening around Wesburn Ranges where I was growing up, and it was this really great win-win where I was also just starting my journey to becoming a doctor, and so realised that I was able to bring those skills to CFA, but was really excited to learn that I could also take a lot of these CFA skills into my job as well. So volunteering with CFA, for me the big takeaway was sort of learning how to cope in a really stressful, high-pressure environment. When you've got colleagues, teammates, good mates around you who, I suppose, you're all working towards a common goal, but in a really unique situation. And I think sort of my day-to-day role in medicine is really similar in that there's difficult challenges, often hostile environments where things aren't always ideal, and a team that you really need to pull together. So I think CFA's taught me the importance of teamwork, given me the ability to cope in difficult situations. And I suppose the enjoyment and community and sense of belonging that allows me to sort of join a brigade every time I move to a new small town. Growing up in small country towns, I learned pretty quickly that everybody's got a role to play, no matter what town you're in, no matter how big the town, and no matter what your upbringing. CFA is such a great way for people to bring no matter what life experience, no matter what occupation they do, no matter what skills they've got, into a common goal that's going to benefit the community no matter what, in a place where hopefully you feel supported, valued, and enjoy great friendships. No matter what you think you can bring, CFA has a role for everybody.
And welcome back. Apologies, I think we had a few little audio issues there, but we're back and running. So well done, team behind the scenes, to get us back on track. And my sincere apologies, Tim, for calling you Tom, but I'm sure the message was well received. So it is National Volunteer Week as well, and which was launched yesterday, and there's a lot of activity going on. It is a great opportunity for us to celebrate and say thank you to our 52,000 plus CFA volunteers who are out there in 1,200 plus communities, protecting lives, saving property 24/7, 365 days a year. So it is really a great opportunity for us to recognise them. And a couple of new panel members joining us here. So Sascha, who's the captain of Wesburn-Millgrove Brigade up the valley, so welcome to you. And Fiona, Group Officer over at Yarra Valley Group, both, you know, long-serving and very, very high-profile volunteers in your respective areas. Perhaps to you, Sascha, first, what does National Volunteer Week mean to you, to your brigade, to your members?
It's a great way of, I suppose, for me, showing the public that we're all volunteers. A lot of the time they pick up the phone, they're having an emergency, we rock up. Knowing that we're a volunteer probably goes by the wayside because there's more important things they're thinking about. But this is a week that gives us the opportunity to display to the public what we do, who we are, and the fact that we're all volunteers when they pick up that phone.
Yeah, it's great. And Fiona, you've been obviously a brigade leader and now leading a group, but the National Volunteer Week, what does that mean for you and all of the people around you?
I think it's a really important opportunity, not just to showcase to the community what we do, but I also think it's a way of recognising and saying thank you to our family members who support us to do what it is that we do. When we run out on lunches and dinners and miss school pickups and it's 3 o'clock in the morning when we come home smelling a smoke of a fire, they're the ones that pick up the slack for us and fill in the gaps. So while it's a recognition of the services we provide, it's equally a recognition to say thank you to those people who not just only support CFA, but all the emergency services. So I think it's a really valuable way to say thank you en masse from all of us to all of them.
Yeah, thanks. And the theme for this year is that there's something for everyone. Mm-hmm. I think for CFA that's a really, really significant theme as well, because you know we often get I'll call it the yellow overalls or the turnout gear and the fire truck that sort of is synonymous with CFA, but we know that what makes CFA work behind the scenes, there's a lot more to it, and the something for everyone is really important. Sascha, in your brigade, you know, other activities, you obviously have your firefighting team, but have you got other members doing other things in your community from the fire brigade?
Yeah, absolutely. So we regularly engage with the local residents group, the Millgrove residents group. We do sausage sizzles, we support them. In fact, we have them coming into our station fairly regularly as a meeting space to provide that support. But yeah, we've got members that get out, community education, just being there for the public, roll the doors up on a Sunday morning, just saying hello.
It's such an important thing, the community education space, and I know we've got a number of brigades around the state who are doing things like smoke alarm installation programs. You know, we've launched the home safety campaign this week as well, and we know that working smoke alarms save lives. Yep. Do you have brigade members that are involved in any of that activity, or do you have any push into that space?
A little bit. We actually had a fire call a couple of weeks ago. We turned up, fire alarm was going off, they didn't know what to do, and it was just a flat battery, but we had a member go back later on that afternoon, swap the battery out and just look after that community member. which was really well.
And how good's that? And now they've got a working smoke alarm,
Yes.
which has given them the best chance of early notification and the best chance of survival. Fiona, what about at group level in terms of, you know, the something for everyone role? How does it work at the group, and what are the activities that are not just the operational ones?
I guess from a group perspective, it's probably a couple of different folds. So one is around helping support our brigades through delivering training and assessing to encourage our people to progress through to the next one. The other part is also something around Nicole touched on earlier, which is IMT roles. So part of the group's role is to help develop our people into those skills, and they're the skills that help support our members in the trucks on the fire ground do their job, and they're a really integral and critical part in the big picture scheme of things to enable our people to have what they need on the fire ground.
Yeah, and I mean, it just goes without saying that, you know, the way that fires are managed ultimately will determine not just the success of the fire, but, you know, the time commitment, all those sort of things of our members, and incident management teams, such a vital role that they play, and we saw that, you know, throughout the summer this year. Just a quick bit of feedback in terms of the poll and where things are running at the moment, so keep those votes coming in. But the training enhancement program, 26%, training pathways, which we've already had a chat about, at 42%. RTO governance, 6%, so perhaps not the hottest topic out there at the moment, certainly is in our world, but understand that. And volunteer instructors, 26%, and Rohan will be talking about that shortly. So just the opportunity at National Volunteer Week for recruitment. So we heard Sean talking about 4 new members coming in here, which is wonderful, and the potential for more. Do you see opportunity to lever off that for recruitment this week as well, in terms of showcasing the activities of our volunteers and what they do?
Yep, absolutely. We've had 3 new volunteers come through recently, and I think for us, having the flexibility at the moment with the GFF, I've got 1 member who's not able to make all the sessions, and be able to take that off, do it online while they're away working, and then come back and pick up has been really good. But to be able to recruit this week, I think it's important. I think we'll get a minute or 2 out of that. Great opportunity. Now I want to come to the volunteer instructor poll result there, Rose. So 26% of people out there see that as being a topic. What can you tell us about where we're at there?
Yeah, so interesting, both Fiona and Sascha are volunteer instructors with us for CFA, so just, you know, so many strings to the bow. So for us, the AFAC recommendations again really called out the need for us to better recognise the work of our volunteer instructors. And, you know, you hear me use the term volunteer instructor and not trainer and assessor. So we've moved to a position where our members volunteers who are qualified in training and assessment will be termed volunteer instructors. And what we've done as a part of that recognition through the working group that worked from the back of the AFAC peer review was to focus on ways we can recognise our instructors. So we've adopted some new helmets which are rolling out. So there's a QR code which is on the screen at the moment, which members who are volunteer trainers and assessors under those levels of qualifications and are delivering courses can qualify for a helmet or 2 helmets, you know, a wildfire or structure, depending on the roles they're doing, to support them in delivering training in the field. Helps stand out that the member is an instructor, helps them out on the training ground, but it also shows the recognition for the hard work that they do, the vital part that they play within CFA, alongside our paid instructors, which are equally as vital to deliver courses for our members.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Rose. So some really good recognition coming through there as well. The new helmets, which look fantastic. And I'm sure our instructors out there will be super appreciative of not just the recognition that comes with that, but obviously it's a great fit for purpose rig as well. So thank you. We've got a little bit now about strike team leader video coming up. So to the team, if we could throw to that one, that'd be great.
We are filming a fantastic, exciting, innovative video for OD&T. We are filming strike team leader. We are making assessments. We are making it immersive. We're making it fun, and we're making it engaging, because that is what OD&T are doing in regards to education and training. So please watch this space, watch this fantastic opportunity that we have, and please watch out for more projects like this. Enjoy.
So great video there, and I just want to actually, thank everybody that was involved in the filming and making of that video. But Fiona, you were obviously involved in that, and so was Sascha. But firstly, to yourself, the importance of volunteers being involved in that type of filming, the benefits, volunteers filming for volunteers.
I think it was a really great association between the filming company, who were fabulous to work with, because we're not exactly actors, although I think we've got a couple of budding actors in the group, and also with headquarters. When we got the brief to do some of the scenes, it was like, that's not probably quite how it would happen in the real world. We've all been there and done this sort of thing, so we know the value of our training reflecting real life experiences. So the team were absolutely fantastic and really agile on the day to be able to actually take on some of that feedback and adapt it. So even though there's not smoke and flames to give effects to it, some of the briefings and some of the scenarios and some of the incidents, they're real. They happen on strike teams. So we wanted to make sure that they could be as real as possible and not just, made up or that sort of thing. So I think that was really important, that you've got people who've got subject matter expertise actually contributing and actively being part of the delivery and the filming of that process, and hopefully there's a really good quality product for it.
It speaks heaps for the process really there, and as you say, having those people who have had the first-hand experience delivering that message and capturing that for the next generation or the next wave of people, that's great. Sascha, your involvement in that and your experience of it, I'd like to draw on that a bit further.
It was a lot of fun. Look, it was a good fun day. I think ultimately it's easier to teach a fiery to be an actor than teaching an actor to be a fiery. So no, look, I had a lot of fun being part of that. And I think for me, I'm sort of shaping the future of the CFA training. It's my hand there. My members are going to see it, other members are going to see it, and they'll know that that's a real fiery. They won't go, well, that's an actor. I think for me that's important, being involved in that way.
Yeah, and I think the credibility that goes with that speaks in spades, doesn't it, really, in terms of, the people who have been there, done that, sharing that experience and progressing it and capturing it digitally to share with others is wonderful. Ro, I want to come to you now about our women training programs, and particularly some of the women-only training programs and the benefits that we're seeing from that coming through as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've, a couple of things have been happening in this space. We've had the opportunity to run a couple of other additional courses on top of some courses that we're already running. So Driver Educator, for example, and we've opened one of those extra courses up as a women's only course to have a look and give our female firefighters or operational members an opportunity to do their training or do some training in a different version of the way it's applied. So some of the feedback we're getting around is that at times some of our female members or some of our members from within our diverse organisation are not always given opportunities to take on different training courses, or not always confident in doing some of the courses in the way that some courses are delivered, either through the practical application or through just building a bit of confidence. So we're looking, and we have run a couple of female-only courses recently. And on top of that, we've also just completed a survey. We're just getting the results now across our female operational members about options in delivering training to females. too early to talk too much detail about the results, but it's probably a little bit mixed. We get a number of our members female members who want female-only training to give them an opportunity, and that training is the same standard as the training they would have received in both male-female training, but it's just at times focused or delivered slightly differently, but the standard's the same. We're also getting feedback from some members to say, no way, Jose, I want joint training, combined gender training for everything. I don't want to do female-only training. But both of those answers are correct for the individual member. And if you go back to what we spoke about the first thing tonight, we want to offer training in a multiple of ways that members can choose how they want to be trained and take the way that they are more comfortable with so they get the better outcome. So by offering women's only training is just another feather in our bow about the type of training that we offer to our members.
Yeah, it's great. And we talked about flexibility and the volunteer experience, really key for us. So thanks for that little update. Now, sorry, Brad, you keep... Oh, thank you. I was just going to do that. Thanks, my Master Director. I was going to go there, Fiona. So you've sort of come through that experience, and you're now, in a very senior position as one of our women leaders. But do you see the benefits in either or in that?
I think it probably needs to be either or. And that's going to reflect the fact that volunteering is evolving. So the model that we had over 20 years ago when I joined is not the same model that we're delivering today. When I started my CFA career, it was really common for me to be the only female in the course or on the training ground or on a strike team. Now that is changing with time, it's changing with opportunities being offered to people. There are some who are comfortable in that environment, there are others who are not. So I think we need to ensure that our training reflects the levels of confidence that people have about training, but we also need to make sure that despite women-only training, that we still turn out with all our counterparts. So we need to make sure that as part of that process, once they've got the confidence and the skills, they're being brought back into the group to actually do that, because that's what we do in the real world.
Yeah, and I think it's really important, and Ro indicated there before, there's no change in the standards, but the process or the delivery might be varied depending on what the audience looks like. But in terms of the outcome, that's important, because as you say, at the end of the day, we all end up in the same space doing the same role. So that's really important. Sascha, from your brigade, and I'm not sure how many women members are there, but do you see the benefit of either or how have you gone about that?
Absolutely. I think either or is a great model. I think to give the female members that ability to train together is really helpful. Part of what we do is building confidence, and to have sort of both sort of genders in the same space can at times be intimidating for everybody. So to give everybody opportunity, I think, having a women's only group is ideal.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. Now, we want to do a little bit on the National Volunteer Week. We're going up to Badger Creek, and Olivia Frith and the captain out there, Mike Thomas. So let's hear from them.
I'm very proud of my brigade. I've seen ups and downs, obviously, but I'm very proud of where we've come to now. My name is Mike Thomas, and I'm the captain of Badger Creek Fire Brigade. Obviously, members come and go. They move away from the area, or they move on to other things. And we were struggling at times to get a truck out of the door. We put it out on social media, and I sent out emails to past members. And it took a while, and we've slowly been building it back up. And now we've built our numbers back up, and we will get 2 trucks out the door now.
So I grew up in a family full of firefighters. It's been in the blood for a while. Joining was really good. We do it all online now. The GFF course was actually really good. The assessors that we got given were really knowledgeable, and they helped us the whole way through. We've learned team building skills, leadership skills, using hoses, using pumps. Everyone that I've met so far has been an inspiration. Everyone's got each other's backs in the CFA, and we're all here for each other, and it's been a really good experience.
Thanks, Olivia, Mike. Great little interlude up there at Badger Creek. Thanks for putting that together, and to the team behind the scenes, they're helping bring that to us today. So we want to continue on with our different sort of LMS, Doctrine. We've got some issues here that we'll talk about shortly. Some of the training development activities are underway and the RTO update to Roe. But I just want to start perhaps with LMS, and I'm not sure whether it's Rohan. Do you want to talk?
Yeah,
we're up there.
I'll start if you like. So, and then Nicole can pick up the pieces like she normally does. But so for us, LMS is critical. The AFAC review again said about one source of truth. So we're moving all of our information to LMS. To do that, we've had to do some upgrades. And those upgrades took LMS offline for a week. There was a fair bit of communications, but that was a challenge for us all to take it offline. We've now got it back online, and we are still experiencing some problems with the upgrade. So there's a lot of work being done behind the scenes to get it fully operational again. We do understand there are some difficulties with access at the moment, some endorsements and individuals accessing LMS in some areas is a problem. So we're trying to work through that. What we will have to do is essentially reconfigure access levels. So for the majority of members, that'll get them back online fairly quickly once we're able to do that if you're offline. What it will do though is it's a piece of work that we wanted to do in the future, but because of the challenge that we've found with the LMS upgrade that's just occurred, we'll bring that forward to get it up and running. So that's probably one component of LMS that has been keeping all of us busy, including obviously Nick.
Yeah, thanks. Tim, welcome. Tim Connor, coming along this evening. Tim, we've got a few things happening in our Doctrine space, and you've lined up some beautiful helmets there in front of you. And we'll talk to those in a moment as well. But what's been happening in the Doctrine space?
So Garry, we've been sort of moving forward with a fairly consistent process of Doctrine renewal. So we've probably got about 50 odd SOPs on the go at the moment within the team. And Tracy and Emma are doing a fantastic job with working with our SMEs to support the development of new Doctrine. We're sort of moving forward with some really key pieces, some stuff around solar farms, which we know is a hot topic, some stuff around managing biosecurity incidents. We're updating things around power lines and transmission lines as well. That's going to be coming out to members quite soon. And we know that some of this is sort of hot topics where there's been a lot of feedback, and we're constantly seeking feedback from members about where they think that we could put something in place or we could improve something. The team's keen to hear about it.
Yeah, it's great. And I mean, our Doctrine, some of it has been quite dated. A lot of really good work to get that brought up to speed at the moment, and as you say, some hot topics that, particularly in the renewable energy space and things like that, where we've got to make sure that we're developing SOPs that are contemporary with the changing world that we're living in today. The helmets, I'm sure that's, a lot of people are saying, what are these helmets lined up for? What's the background here, Tim?
Well, we know firefighters love a good bit of kit, so this has been, I guess, a long discussion that CFA has been having, and there's been some trials that have run in districts around helmet markings and some improvements to helmet markings to enable incident controllers and crew leaders to delineate different skills on the fire ground. So what we've got here, as of today, we've approved, and thank you for approving it, Garry, but the new helmet identification SOP. And that has gone up online with a new intranet page to support these new helmet markings. So what this is about delineating who has an internal BA qualification. So where you have an existing skill such as hazmat or protective equipment, that'll be shown with a box around it, I guess, to simulate a structure. Or for BA, you will just have a box around it as well. As part of this process as well, we've identified a need for some additional skills decals. So we've got an R for rescue, and that's for an F15 helmet, as well as a U1 and a U2, and that's to do with urban search and rescue qualifications. And we've also got a V for vertical for a rope rescue. Obviously, we couldn't have two different Rs, so we've gone with V for that one. So the SOP highlights where members are entitled to have a particular skill decal, and there's going to be a process of distribution for those stickers to brigades and how we sort of work with that moving forward.
Terrific, Tim, and I know that that's been a subject dear to a lot of people's hearts, in particular when we moved away from the F3 or the Pacific F3 and moved to the 15 only. So it meant that because initially they were issued to BA wearers, and that's where some of the need for helmet identification came in. So we've got that resolved now and going forward. And the SOP, thanks to, I know there'll be some members online here watching tonight that have had involvement in that, and broadly the consultation has been great. We've landed in a pretty good space, and from an identification point of view, it's really clear. So that's terrific, Tim. So a lot happening in Doctrine. It's clearly one of those things that having contemporary doctrine for our organisation, for all of our members right across the state to work from, is important. And the refresh that's going on at the moment, as you said, about 50 in the pipe of some form of review. Some of those will be a minor tweak, some of them will be quite comprehensive, or in fact starting from a new place because of the new needs that are emerging out there as well. Training and development, Nick. Now, just because I keep wanting to throw a question to you, but what's happening there at the moment that we should keep ourselves on top of?
Sure. So we've had a very busy year, and next year looks like being more of the same. So we've got a lot of packages that are just about ready to release, but we've also been refining our development process so that we make sure that we tick all of our governance requirements, we meet all our quality assurance milestones, and that we have consultation with the appropriate groups of people. So our process, basically from beginning to end, we start with reviewing the existing materials, and we get some feedback from SMEs about whether or not the content, how good is the content? Is it mostly accurate, not at all accurate, or nearly there, just needs some reshaping? So from that we can work out our best approach. We also do, then we move into that phase of actually developing the content, and there's a number of other consultation pieces that happen there, as well as continuing to consult with the SMEs. That then goes to our joint training committee for a full review. And so for instance, with a program like GFF, we did 2 full days out at Huntley with the JTC, and we walked through the entire program from start to finish, and they gave us a lot of really valuable feedback about making sure things were in the right order and that the content was appropriate. We also do a walkthrough with the ACFOs and with our DCO of our content before we release it. We have a QA process, so it goes through our governance team for a review to make sure it meets all our quality milestones, is validated, will meet our RTO compliance requirements. Then it goes through our RTO governance committee for sign-off, and then we build it in the LMS, and we do a handover to our instructors so that they have all the information they need to be ready to release it.
So a lot of structure.
Yes, a lot of structure.
Which is really important. And Ro, I want to come to you about the RTO space as well. But if you line that up, that's why it is so important that we have all of those systems and processes lined up. And the front end consultation piece and the feedback, as you indicated before, involving groups of volunteers, particularly the JTC, and the feedback that comes from that is all really well received, and actually allows us to refine and develop things so that we actually are getting good products for our members out in the field. Ro, the RTO and where we're at the moment, and how's our journey continuing there?
Yeah, so we're in the programs we're building, and Nick spoke about the development of the program. So as those assessments are built, we're looking at ways to ensure that we comply with the assessments requirements. So there's a number of aspects to both through the digital assessments or face-to-face written assessments. There's processes to follow to ensure they meet the standards, which we obviously work through. One of the things that we also, within the RTO governance RTO requirements, is around LLN. So, ensuring that our members who are undertaking training are supported at the right level for any training they undertake. So, RTO requirements set that we do LLN assessments, which we haven't been doing, and we're starting to look towards doing for new members as they join CFA into the future. So we'll make some practical processes in how that works, but that's just another element of being a part of an RTO and complying. There are a set of rules that we have to follow, and we all love rules. If we don't follow them, then we don't maintain our RTO, which in the main could be, what does it matter? But for an organisation our size that works with other fire agencies not even interstate, but across the world, we need to be able to benchmark and to say to those organisations we meet the same standard that they do, which is why we need that strong RTO reliance. I might just, Garry, if I can, and Nick spoke about the process for course development, getting to handover, and I do need to shout out for the MLDs here, particularly in districts. Once we produce a course and hand it over, that doesn't automatically make it accessible and available for people. So the instructors, both their paid and volunteer instructors, need to complete the handover, be comfortable with the material and the way that it's delivered, and then it needs to be scheduled into our course calendars, which the districts and regions do. So depending on the priorities within the regions and districts, they will establish that to suit the needs of the districts. And Nick spoke about what's happening ahead of the in the next few months. So a number of key IMT and strike team leader prerequisites are coming out. So we can expect to see IBB, so the intermediate bushfire behaviour, roll out in as a handover, and then it needs to be scheduled. Obviously GFF, control level 1 incident, work safely around aircraft, strike team leader, supervised machinery and wildfire and AIMS principles, as well as fire weather 1 and leader crew. So all of those are going through those last final steps of handover in the next month to 2 months. And then the regions will need to look to schedule them based on what the needs are of the districts. So there's a lot in this from end to end, as you know, and the RTO requirements are a critical part of that.
Yeah, that's great, Rohan. I reckon there'll be a lot of people online tonight listening to that going, there's some of those courses I know people have been waiting and screaming out for. So to see them coming through the pipe and getting them out, and as you say, queuing them up from now out at regions and districts will be really valuable. Last thing, because you've been doing a fair bit of talking, but the vehicle driver licensing records and logbooks, what's the update there?
So under the National Heavy Vehicle regulations, there are changed requirements for us around logbooks. We won't need to carry the individual logbooks that you would normally see an interstate truck driver or a truck driver use, but there will be a requirement, and we're now working through that process at the moment, to have a modified logbook, what we would currently have in our vehicles as we have at the moment. So we expect to see some new logbooks roll out with additional information required in them to comply with the National Heavy Vehicle regulations, or in actual fact the amendment that's been provided to us to ensure we can comply, but through a modified logbook. As a part of that, we'll need to ensure that we can record members' licence category and their licence number through their membership. So where members, and it's up, this part of it's on live now, where members go into members online and do their contact detail upgrade or their updates. Under the contact details, there's a section in there where you can add your licence number and your category of vehicle licence. That'll be recorded. It's secure. It's been through our privacy assessment and it's not readily accessible, which is why we've had to go through that process. The other component of it is with one of our programs that we're running at the moment, which is upgrading the number of heavy vehicle and medium and heavy rigid licences across the organisation. We're looking to continue over the next 2 years to increase the number of licences available or provided to our members. The challenge we've got at the moment is we actually don't have good data on what our licence categories are, or membership categories are, brigade by brigade. So that will also help us to understand where the gaps are in the training requirements or the licensing requirements to further support our members. So there's a lot in that space.
Thanks, Ray. So Fiona, I just want to come to you because some of that, particularly the training that's in the pipeline that'll be coming out through, has there been a waiting period at I'll say a group level for those, particularly some of those courses that will allow the pathway to progress the incident management or certainly the strike team leader sector commander program?
Look, absolutely. I think I'd speak for any group about needing those pathways right from IBB Fire Weather 1 to be able to get our people into strike team leaders so that we can start the next level of training for them and ensure that we've got people to hand over when we decide we're not hopping on the back of the fire truck anymore. So that continuity of knowledge and ability to mentor and support our future people in those roles is incredibly important. So I think one of the challenges for Rohan's going to be is that there's going to be an incredible bottleneck as we're trying to get a whole heap of people. We've been waiting for those courses, I'd say something in the vicinity of 5 odd years now. So there's a lot of people who are ready, have probably got the experience, but need the formal qualification. So I think the challenge is going to be about how we schedule the volume of courses for the amount of people who are going to need to do those as part of their progression.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that, as I say, the demand is there. It's great that we've got to this point. There's just so much going on. It's been terrific. But anyway, we're going to go now to another video for National Volunteer Week, where we're heading down to Langwarrin and newly elected 4th Lieutenant, Ali Jawigan, and let's hear from Ali.
A really big part of my life. The experience I've had has been really character building for me throughout the years. You know, as a volunteer firefighter, you do attend some sometimes confrontational scenes, so it's certainly built my resilience and given me life experience that I wouldn't have gotten from anywhere else. I've also developed some really strong friendships, not only through my brigade, but more broadly across the CFA, and it's also had a really big influence on my career path. I now work in emergency management, and the frontline experience that I get through my volunteering helps me quite a great deal working in the complex environment that emergency management is. I've been with the CFA for 12 years now, and I couldn't imagine my life without CFA being some part of it.
Well, good on you, Ali. Another great story about our people out there showcasing our membership and the wonderful work that they're doing right across the state. So congratulations. Thanks, Ali. I just do want to talk about diversity and inclusion, in particular, a couple of days that we're promoting. So last Friday was IDAHOBIT Day. Would have seen some promotion go out, and our Chief Officer, Jason Heffernan, is our ambassador for IDAHOBIT and sends a really strong and clear message, which I'd simply reiterate tonight. And that is that we need to continue to promote inclusion and the acceptance of all of individuals. Everyone that wants to join our fire brigades are welcome and should actually be able to do that without any restriction whatsoever. So IDAHOBIT Day does allow us to actually deliver that message in a strong way and make sure that we've got all of our membership out there feeling welcome, and anyone that wants to join our organisation, we've talked about that in National Volunteer Week, tonight, and there's something for everyone as our promotion to that. Just gives us that opportunity to do that. The second one is National Reconciliation Week, and that commences next week as well, and gives us the opportunity to ensure that we are playing, and as I did at the opening, our acknowledgement to country, but also recognition of our traditional owners. And it was an exciting year for us this year with the announcement of our newest brigade formed down near Lake Tyers at Bunjil Brigade, and a wonderful thing down there in recognition of some of our traditional owners forming a fire brigade down there. Just a wonderful thing, and we've spoken to a few people about that today. So to all of our people out there from our Aboriginal and or Torres Strait communities, it is a great week for us to be able to recognise and celebrate the wonderful things that you do for our nation, and in particular some of the learnings that we pick up for you from in the cultural burning space, which I know we're learning more and more about as we go. Okay, so we've had a studio audience here tonight who have been very blissful and sitting over there without too much noise or raucous, even with a couple of our little bloopers, but it is a warm welcome to everybody on what is a cool night at Coldstream. So there's wave to everybody. You're on smile. You're on camera. Shane, we're coming to you. You've got a question that may come to me, but to somebody on the audience. So over to you.
All right. Thanks, Chief. We've seen the helmet decals on the new helmets there, or the new decals, and members at the moment, our service times are reducing the amount of time that we're seeing volunteers. As volunteers, we're seeing a reduction of the paid structural instructors, particularly in our region. I'm sure that's across everywhere. What is it that we're actually doing or able to do to help increase the skill set that our members have got with the structural instructors and being able to support that training so we don't actually go backwards as our length of service is decreasing?
It's a good question, Shane, and I'm probably going to defer to Rohan, who might have a little bit deeper knowledge on that.
So there's two elements. One is our paid instructors as we are now. So under the secondment agreement through FRV, we are working with FRV to ensure that our paid instructors, when they take leave or change positions, are replaced as quickly as possible. So there's certainly a lot of work, and both ACFO David Maxwell and Stuart Walker are really active in that place. The second part is also about increasing our volunteer instructors to be able to deliver both wildfire and structure. So we've got a number of programs going through at the moment, depending on the region. So the North East, I know, is running a trainer and assessor program, and they've put another 30 through that, and of that 30, they've opened up 10 of those positions with our support across the region. So we're trialling that online trainer assessor course to see how that flows. The feedback that we got initially was that it was volunteer friendly in the way that it was delivered and was appropriate for firefighter training, the type of trainer assessment training that was occurring. So we've got a really strong focus on trying to increase our volunteer instructor numbers. And I'd encourage people who are interested in it to work with their district, their CLD, and we will certainly look to support the regions and districts where we can to provide courses through external providers for trainer and assessor or instructor.
As a group, we're really looking at our volunteer trainer and assessors or instructors now, delivering those wildfire and those entry level and going up to higher courses as well, but we're really looking on the support of the paid structural instructors to be able to get the best value out of those to deliver the courses that we don't have the capacity at the moment to do. And when we see them delivering more of the wildfire and the packages that the volunteers could be delivering, it's frustrating for our volunteer assessors not to have those structural assessors or instructors being able to do their work there. So certainly the feeling is that we need that support from the structural instructors.
Yeah, look, I'd agree, we do. The solution for us isn't one model of instructor, it's both paid and volunteer. We've got 450 volunteer instructors across CFA and 80 odd paid instructors as well. And certainly for those lower courses where there's volunteer instructors able to deliver the shorter courses or the courses that don't take as much effort, that does take pressure off the paid instructors and allows them to work at on different courses. But we're not confining one course to another course for the paid or voluntary. If an instructor has the skills and the ability and the desire, then whether you're paid or volunteer, we'll take your take your service with much appreciation.
Thanks, Ro, and thanks, Shane. I'm sure there's more for us to work through there. And have we got a job?
No.
No? It's all right? Maybe not. So I think it's Scott.
Yes. Thanks for coming out tonight, first of all. I have a question on the structure helmets. If I recall correctly, when the original application came out, they were only given to volunteers who held a BA qualification. All new members that come through the ranks for structure without BA get the new helmet. Is there opportunity for members that weren't part of the original allocation to be able to get the F-17 helmets to match the rest of the brigades?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So just by way of background, we absolutely right. So we introduced through effectively a program that we had specifically for the introduction of the F-15 helmets, which didn't allow us to give it to all of our structural firefighters. initially. So the F3 helmet still meets all of the relevant safety standards, but we took a decision perhaps 18 months ago to say, well, it's pretty silly to continue to buy two different types of helmets. So we migrated to the F15 now as the standard helmet, which then actually brought about the reason for the stickers, because the helmet identification stickers, simply because we had members that were getting them and you couldn't make the assumption that they, for example, had BA or search and rescue and so on. So the short answer at the moment is there isn't a program to do that, to see the F3s removed. They are still a compliant helmet, I guess, in that space.
I think it's more of a thing of the members having some guys have got the good helmet, we don't, sort of thing, that there's that sort of chatter in the background that everyone would like to have it, but obviously if it's something that's being thought about, that's... Yeah,
and look, it would be nice to be able to do that. As you know, they're a pretty expensive piece of kit, and we've, in terms of balancing our available resources, which we've always got competing challenges for, but it's certainly something that somewhere down the track would be good to do.
Yeah. Now I've got one more question around, there's a lot of talk tonight about the female-only training. Is there any tips and tricks or campaigns upcoming in regard to female recruitment, the bit that comes before the training? I know that Coldstream, we haven't had a lot of success in the past. It'd be great to see some support from CFA for some campaigns or whatever it might be to try and help us reach out to the female community to build upon our brigade. And I'm sure other brigades having the same sort of challenges.
Yeah, sure. And look, with our Give Us a Hand campaign, which is now underway, we have got the opportunity to support brigades with tailored recruitment as well. So I'm not sure whether Sal Pickering and the team are online there, but we'll certainly follow that one up and provide some advice back to the brigade. Okay, another question.
Hi Gary, Nigel Jones. Gary, just to back up Shane before, something like an advanced course for especially our interface areas and brigades, Region 13, we have one structural instructor. If we want to move on to do things like respond to urban, we're talking about a 10-day course, full-day course, which is, it's a pretty solid course, but it's a 10-day course, and then you've got to sit through another 10-day course, all right, to become an instructor if you get signed off. That's 20 days. It's hard for people to put 20 days together, right? It's even hard, how do you break that up even more? So, that's where I think Shane was coming into the paid person at that higher level. And that's not the same in every area, but especially in the interface areas where we have around Melbourne, where the CFA is still extremely strong, and even in the country areas where they're strong in those bigger cities that need that course. The other one I was going to ask was workwear. Now, workwear is great to have. It's lovely to have, but we got one set, right? We go out, I probably wear this twice or three times until my wife says it smells too much, and that's the end of it. I just find that, we go and buy it, we can go and buy it now, but $90 for a pair of shorts is pretty steep in anybody's language. I can go and buy a good bit of workwear, shorts, for $50. So I don't know where the prices come from or who does this sort of thing, but we need to have a look at what it's costing a volunteer to buy a pair of shorts, because you're only allowed either long pants or shorts when we got it, which is fine. But, to try and kit ourselves up outside, and the shirt's even more expensive. So, you look maybe $150, $180 for a bit of stuff. So there's sort of my 2 points.
Yeah, look, two really good points. I think the instructor one, probably Shane had made the point as well, so follow that up. And I think if we think about the work that's been going on in training at the moment in terms of getting a whole range of courses and programs up to where we're at the moment, now it's about, how does that actually come forward with some of the other demands that will present. So our resourcing, in terms of the workwear and the allocation, it was a program again, a bit like the helmets, where we had some budget to go ahead and get that sorted. So we've got it out there. It's wonderful to see, and it's great to see everybody here tonight. And we've had deployments going in places, and it's for the first time ever we've actually been able to really be clearly identifiable. So it's a terrific achievement. Is there some where to go in the future with some of those things? I guess they're all opportunities. Thanks, great question.
Garry, I think that as far as instructor, digital assessments will make a difference for instructors, paid or volunteer, because if there's less time doing paperwork, there's more time out delivering. And I think that will hopefully open up the opportunities, to get our instructors out on the feet, delivering training, which is probably where most instructors really want to be, not filling out bits of paperwork. So that's one of the benefits.
Yep, absolutely. So good work. Righto, we're going to bring it to a close, I think. It's been a terrific night, a lot covered. I do just want to give a shout out firstly to Captain Sean and the team from here at Coldstream. Thank you so much for hosting us tonight. To DCO Rohan, to Nicole, Sascha, Fiona, Beth and Tim on the panel. Thanks team, really appreciate it. Helping me out. To Tim, Olivia, Mike and Ali for the video shoots and all those involved in the Strike Team Leader video. Congratulations, well done as well. To the team behind the scenes who keep me on track, and even if I did have a bit of a blooper there with Brad thinking that I didn't quite pick up on his message, but to Beth, Martin, Lucy and Brad, thanks so much for making all of the things behind the scenes work. Our roving Mike, Dave Maxwell, early to open up the night. Thanks also, Maxie, for your support. Wonderful night. Bit cool here, I must say, but anyway, thanks everybody. And to the studio audience, thanks all for your participation tonight. Top job. Thanks very much. And we'll see you all next time.